SANDBOX, yeah, they got a good draft as I mentioned in the first review, and well, on back of that, individual performance and well, over aggression from Team 1, they were able to snowball the first game into a victory and now lead the series 1-0. Will T1 come back? Will they get a better draft, more suited to their players' playstyle? We'll find out just in a short bit. But before we get into the draft, I ask of you to check down in the description where you find my Twitter link, my Twitch, and all that other good stuff. So if you're interested in that, yeah, check it out. Also, you might want to subscribe to not miss out on future draft review content. And if you enjoyed it so far, hit me up with a like. And well, we're going right in the draft. So before the draft loads up here, just shortly mentioning what do I want to see changed here for T1. I think the bot lane matchup with the Varus and the Alistar, usually a strong suit for T1, wasn't all that great. I think Varus still not fine, and the Alistar can also do well. But in lane, Alistar is just, well, he's just weak. Exceptionally if he's facing a very powerful and potent bot lane like the Kalista Gragas. There is very little that he can do unless they get to snowball it the first few levels. But looking at the first few levels, that's where the Kalista Gragas combo is also more or less at their strongest, right? The high base damage of Gragas still super effective, and Kalista, well, she only really needs to level to have all her key abilities. So I think the Alistar pick, while normally and compositionally obviously made sense, wasn't really the right decision here. It didn't enable Keria to roam so freely without Gumayushi losing CS here and there. Gumayushi's losing CS is the next part, and many macro calls, which T1 really excelled at in the last series, Gumayushi was just randomly walking from lane to lane, always a bit out of position, and I'm not sure if this was like his mistake individually or if it was the team making indecisive calls and unclear calls, and it wasn't really sure if they need Gumayushi there, if he should follow up on the play, or if he should stay in mid, stay in bot lane to farm and push for plates. In many instances, staying and pushing would have been better. In other ones, Prince and Effort were already at the play and Gumayushi was still running around. So yeah, there was a bit of a disconnection with the T1 AD carry in connection with Canna and Oner going for plays, while the rest of the team was, well, somewhere else, let's say that. So these things need to be polished a bit. And also coming to the next great error, I think the Galio, well, if his numbers were better, I think it would have been more or less fine. But the way T1 played around the Galio, or well, SANDBOX warded against the Galio maybe it was a bit of both, really made the pick very very underwhelming. Damage wasn't there at all. Like, he could get Qs on multiple people, tickles them. I mean, one auto attack of a cannon minion probably does more damage. So that was very underwhelming. Yes, Faker hadn't the greatest Galio performance in his life, obviously. That also is quite unhelpful for T1, but we don't really usually see that powerful performance from him, and it didn't help that the rest of the team also was a bit, was struggling a bit. But no worries, T1 can come back still. It is only one down. So let's look at the bans here. T1 adding the Kalista here in their standard ban pool instead of the Renekton, and on the other side, SANDBOX banning now the Ryze instead of the Xinjiao, which is fair. I think Ryze is quite better as Xinjiao is not as reliable as the Ryze is in most cases. T1 continuing with the high Viego priority, and I mean, Oner's Viego performance certainly was good. There were some instances where, well, there were some issues, but that wasn't really based on the champion, also on T1's overall communication. That's the main aspect for them, which really got them into the hole where they couldn't escape from. Summit, locking in his Renekton, and well, now Prince gets hands on the Varus. So yeah, Sandbox getting high priority picks here, as well as the Lucian. So, well, they can choose Renekton mid, Lucian mid, they can flex that however they want. In any case, will probably have priority there. Similar with the Varus, but T1 says no, we lock in Trundle Ziggs. So Ziggs against Varus, very non-interactive lane, both have quite a lot of range and quite a good amount of wave clear. Yes, obviously Ziggs has this AP burst advantage and Varus also has this early game power, so both have a bit of additional strength in the standard sense. But overall, this will be an interesting bot lane matchup to watch. Well, not really explosive, but it will be interesting how they're positioned and how they use their wave clear abilities to create windows for their supports to roam up, which obviously Keria and Effort are quite known to do. The Trundle pick might seem a bit strange for many people. It was something that we saw, was it yesterday? In NA for one of the nearly first times at the moment. And yeah, it was quite effective. And also today, as I mentioned in the first part of this review, Trundle against Renekton into the mid lane. So maybe this is something Faker also has prepared or Faker also is aware of. That obviously would be quite interesting. Trundle against Lucian though in the mid lane matchup would be quite a disaster. So, well, let's see. T1 also banning Leona again and the Rumble. Not sure about the Rumble here. Maybe they fear the Rumble Renekton and Varus power. Fair point. That is quite a strong team composition for the mid game. Sandbox here banning the LeBlanc and the Azir. So continuing with bans against the man in the mid lane. And well, the LeBlanc, not really too sure about that in this state there. But I guess Varus and Lucian don't really want to be bursted by LeBlanc. And with Viego Trundle, T1 already had a good amount of AD damage. The Azir, yeah, Faker's most played, so it's a decent ban to just throw at him. Sandbox here picking up the Gwen and the Braum in their second rotation. So Braum obviously something that is not that great against most of T1, as there are quite a few ranged champions, but against Oner Lee Sin, should they try to dive into or onto the Varus, that is at least some nice protection they have there. And with the Varus and high attack speed of the Gwen, Braum's passive can be procced quite nicely in teamfights. Then for T1, they picked up the Victor and the Lee Sin. So Lee Sin for Oner, that is again along his playstyle of, well, being in your face. And against the Gwen, he will have a good time there, I'll presume, in the 1v1s, at least early on. Then obviously Gwen outscales nearly every champion in the 1v1 department at the moment. So yeah, that's an issue in the future then for them. But so far, they really do like that early aggression from Oner, and with Faker and Gumayushi having more scaling AP champions, getting a Lee Sin rolling probably with Canna, as Oner and Canna are the duo for T1 in terms of jungle approximation and so on. Probably will be the avenue they try to attack the Renekton. Also here the Victor I mentioned being locked in for Faker. Not something we have seen in quite a while. Victor obviously really likes the meta in the sense that his passive got changed, right? It's not that he has to buy the perfect hex core and gets his upgrades this way. Nowadays it is, you get assists, you get farm, you get kills, and then you get the upgrades in a meta where we see quite a lot of fighting earlier on than, or well, at least more than usual. This will be something that he can make use of to get the upgrades early. Also the matchup Victor against Lucian. Well, Victor with the longer ranged wave clear, the W and his shield on the Q. Usually, if played correctly, or at least historically, has been able to survive the Lucian matchup better than others. And as I mentioned here, and shortly take a look, Sandbox comp they are quite short ranged. Yes, Varus with his Qs, but other than that, more short range champions. So champions that diving in against the Ziggs, against the Trundle and the Victor. Not the best idea. So T1 has a comp that is able to punish that very forward playstyle. The Viego and the Lee Sin, as I often talk about, do handshake this aggressive and forwardness playstyle, or at least approach to fights a bit more. So well, that will be an issue for them if Sandbox gets ahead, right? Because they don't really have a different mode they can turn into to still be relevant. So T1 has to look out for their top duo as well. They probably live and fall by the hands of Canna and Oner in this, at least in the early and mid game stages, unless well Gumayushi and Keria can get the jump on Sandbox bot lane, and then a Ziggs ahead in this scenario here. Well, that would be quite disastrous for Sandbox. Sandbox this time, they have some scaling tools, but as a more aggressive comp, they really are not really looking to scale up passively, but they want to scale aggressively by, well, getting priority in the mid game on the 1-2 item house fights, and then using their comp with the earlier wake up to secure a good lead and ride home on that. So, do I expect T1 to win this? Of course, as always. T1 has my back, or I have T1's back, that's the way it goes. So, we see there down below, oh no, you can't see it, but yeah, Trundle hasn't been played for nearly 1,000 days, so that's something. Trundle support, usually not something you see unless there's a tank meta, when the ultimate is super useful, but it has been shown that the pillar of the EE really disrupts many of the short range dive champions that we see in the moment. So yeah, been interesting to see how this pick works out. Overall though, let's hope we see each other in the draft review of game number 3 and T1 is able to equalize the series. So till then, I ask of you to like the video if you liked it so far, and subscribe to not miss out on future draft review content. Till then, stay safe.